Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where we have a rather special one for you today. And I mean that in a good way. This, in the French technically tier 10, but really tier 11 super ship, I don't even know how you pronounce the name of this thing. How can something with only 5 letters be so difficult to pronounce? Condé? I don't know. France, seriously, spell things properly so other people can pronounce them. Anyway. Yeah. In order to get one of these new super ships, by the way, in case anybody was wondering, you must have owned or researched at least 3 tier 10 ships. And you don't have to research these things, but they are hideously expensive to purchase. I think this thing costs 47.5 million credits, and its post-battle repair costs as well are not cheap. Wargaming have always had a problem with veteran players having ridiculous amounts of credits amassed, and this is one of the ways of tackling that problem, as well as giving them something worthwhile to actually spend the credits on. And John the Ruthless here has decided that this ship is worth spending all of his credits on, and actually he's probably not wrong. It is a very, very good ship. Now, all of these super ships have a special feature, a gimmick if you like, and this ship's gimmick is a burst fire mode for its main battery guns. It's armed with 12 240mm guns in 3 quad turrets, and when you activate the special ability, it basically turns those guns into machine guns. It does incur a long reload afterwards, but you're capable of putting out a frightening amount of burst damage in a very, very short period of time. And on top of that, it also has a main battery reload booster. But none of that's going to be important today. You see, John the Ruthless here has a plan so cunning you could slap a tail on it and call it a fox. And that plan is all to do with exploiting a certain skill. Now, I'm sure the more observant among you have probably already, or at least you think you've already figured out what it is, because you've noticed that his surface detection range on this ship is 18.5 kilometers. Yeah, you're thinking to yourself, I get it. I know what he's doing here. He's running a lighthouse build, isn't he? Well, he is, but that's not it. Now, I've only featured replays with ships running lighthouse builds, I think twice so far on this channel, so there's an excellent chance that most of you probably have no idea what we're talking about. So in order to understand exactly what it is that he's doing here, we're going to need to explain what a lighthouse build is. So a lighthouse is obviously something that you can see at sea from very, very far away. That's the whole point of a lighthouse. And the lighthouse build in World of Warships kind of emulates that. Normally, in World of Warships, when you're setting up a ship, fitting equipment modules, allocating captain skill points, you're trying to reduce the visibility of the ship as much as you possibly can, because if they can't see you, they can't shoot at you. The lighthouse build does the exact opposite. And there's a little bit of a clue that just popped up on screen right now. Ship speed increased. Having seen that, the penny may be dropping for some of you right now, and you've already figured out exactly what it is that he's doing, but for the benefit of those who are still no wiser, I'll continue the explanation. So, a lighthouse build is when you deliberately try to minimize the ship's stealth and maximize the ship's visibility, which is why he has a surface detection range of 18.5 kilometers. He wants as many enemy ships to be able to see him as possible, for as long as possible. Now that may seem like crazy talk, but there's a method to his madness, and this is what makes the whole lighthouse build work. You increase the visibility of the ship to the maximum possible in order to activate the top grade gunner skill. Now this is a 4-point cruiser captain skill, and what it does is if there are any enemy ships spotted within your own ship's standard detectability range, and on this ship he's gotten that up to 18.5 kilometers, then your main battery guns reload 8% faster. And these guns only have a reload of 15 seconds anyway, but he hasn't done it for the top grade gunner skill. I mean, he's using the top grade gunner skill, because if you're going to go with a lighthouse build, you'd be stupid not to, but that's not the reason why he's done it. And the clue is in what happened earlier when he tanked 2 million potential damage, and the speed of his ship increased by 8%. You see, going with a lighthouse build is an extremely high-risk tactic in the first place. I mean, obviously, because you're in a cruiser and you're maximising your visibility, which also increases the chance that people are going to be shooting at you. You want the visibility maximised in order to get the reload reduction on your guns, but you don't really want people to be shooting at you because you're just in a cruiser. So usually when you see somebody running a lighthouse build, it tends to be big-ass heavy cruisers with stonking great big long-range guns, doing one of either two things. Doing what John the Ruthless is doing here, cruising around at maximum range, getting that 8% faster reload on the guns because of all of those enemy ships within, in this case, 18.5 kilometers who were spotted, desperately trying to hit him. In particular, you can see all of those armor-piercing shells coming in, an absolute deluge of them. That's the enemy Annapolis who's hiding behind the island over there. And John, even though he's in no cover whatsoever, he's cruising around in open water, has avoided almost all of the shots fired at him by the simple expedient of varying his rudder and throttle, and not just sailing around at full speed in circles. Now, the other way of making the lighthouse build work is to do basically what that Annapolis is doing. As long as there's a visible enemy ship, and you don't have to be the one spotting them within your surface detection range, the skill is active, the top grade gunner skill, that gives you that 8% faster reload. Clearly John the Ruthless is not doing that, because he wants people to be shooting at him. And that's why. Ship speed increased again. He's just tanked another 2 million potential damage. So what's potential damage then, and why is that important? Well, it's recorded up there in the top left corner, sorry, the top right corner of the screen. So far he's done more than 4 million potential damage. And that doesn't mean that he would have done 4 million damage by now if every shot that he'd fired had hit and damaged an enemy ship. It's the exact opposite. It's the amount of damage that he's avoided from everybody in this battle thus far. Most notably, so far at least, that Annapolis. But everyone thus far in the battle who's aimed at him and fired at him, that's the amount of damage he would have taken if every one of those shots had hit and done damage to him. And the reason he wants everybody to be shooting at him, hopefully without hitting him, which I have to say he's been doing a remarkably good job of doing. He's pretty good at the old rudder and throttle juking. But the reason he wants them all shooting at him is because of the special French commander that he has, Philippe Abognon, or whatever his name is. He's got a very particular skill. It's called Surge Forward. And unlike other special unique commander talents that only activate once per battle, like for example the British Andrew Cunningham's Ruthless talent, which reduces the reload time of your guns and torpedoes by 10% once you get the Witherer achievement, or the American Bull Halsey's Implacable talent, which gives you 20% faster main battery reload, 20% faster plane service time, and 10% faster torpedo reload time when you get the Confederate achievement. This Surge Forward skill activates every time you tank 2 million potential damage. And each time it activates, it makes your ship 8% faster. And it's activated twice already, so John the Ruthless's ship is moving 16% faster. I mean, it's not now. He's reversing. But he's reversing 16% faster. And all of this, of course, makes him even harder to hit than he already is. Oh, and the ship's got an engine boost on top of that. So... Although I think we do have to thank the Annapolis over there for the majority of this... how much is it now? Oh, more than 5.5 million. We're well on the way to our third activation of the Surge Forward talent. You know, that Annapolis, he's not given up. You've got to admire his determination. You know, I'm reminded of the old joke about the hunter who kept going after the unkillable bear. Have you heard that one? I'll tell you the joke. It's pretty good. So there's a hunter who's heard this legend about this old, one-eyed, battle-scarred grizzly bear that lurks in the forests in the Appalachians. And he's determined to get it and stick its head on his wall. And many other hunters have tried to get this bear in the past, and none of them have succeeded. But everyone that came back from trying to kill this bear refused to talk about it. Oh, there we go. 6 million potential damage. His ship's now going 24% faster. Well, in this joke, that Annapolis back there, He's the hunter, and John is the bear. So the hunter packs his trusty old Remington hunting rifle, gets into his truck, and he drives off to a hunting lodge in the Appalachians and stops and asks the guy in the hunting lodge where this bear was known to hang out. And the guy behind the counter says, "You're not going after that grizzly, are you?" He says, "I am. I'm going to kill it and stick its head on my wall." He says, "Well, good luck to you. You probably want to look around this area." So he takes his map and off he goes up into the woods. And he gets into his hide and he lays out some bait and he waits. Well, after a couple of hours of waiting, the wind suddenly turns and he smells it, the unmistakable musk of a grizzly bear. And he sees the bait has suddenly disappeared. So quickly aims at where the bait was, pulls the trigger, fires off a shot, nothing. And then he feels this tap on his shoulder. Turns around, the grizzly bear's standing right behind him. He thinks, "Oh, this is it, I'm dead." But the grizzly bear doesn't kill him. It just says, "All right, my turn." Then it whips him around, grabs him by the shoulders, bends him over double, rips his trousers off and butters his crumpet from behind without so much as a please. And then it just leaves him lying there, stunned in the grass. So the hunter now understands why none of the other hunters that went before him talked about it. But now it's personal. So he goes back to the hunting lodge. He says, "I'm going to need a bigger gun." So the guy at the hunting lodge sells him a pump-action shotgun. And he loads it for bear. And he goes back up into the woods, puts some bait out, loads his shotgun, gets into his hide, and he waits. And again, after a couple of hours, he suddenly sees the bushes rustling right in front of the bait. So he's like, "I've got you now, you bugger." And he empties the shotgun into the bushes. And he goes to take a look. Nothing. And then he feels a tap on his shoulder. Yep, grizzly bear's standing right behind him. The bear just looks at him and says, "My turn again." Same thing happens. So this hunter's lying there, dazed and bleeding in the grass, and he thinks, "I'm going to get that bloody bear if it's the last thing I do." So he goes back down the mountain to the hunting lodge. Guy behind the counter sees the state he's in. He says, "Bear got you again, did he?" He says, "Yep. So you'll be going home now." He says, "Nope, I need a bigger gun." The guy says, "I don't have anything bigger than the shotgun. Could do you an assault rifle. How about an AR-15? How many bullets does it hold?" "Oh, magazine of 30. That's no good." "Have you got one of those Beta C mags? 2 drums, 100 rounds. "Yeah, I can do you one of those." "That should do the trick." So he buys the gun and the magazine, back up the mountain, into the same clearing, lays out some bait, gets into the hide, sits there waiting for the bear, and he hears some rustling in the bushes. He thinks, "I've got you now, you bugger," and he empties 100 rounds into the bushes. The smoke and dust clears, no sign of the bear. Yep, he's behind me again, isn't he? The bear just says, "I'm sure you know what to do by now." And the same thing happens. So he's really pissed off now. Back down the mountain, back to the hunting lodge. He says, "Give me some explosives. I need claymore mines." So he buys every claymore mine the guy's got. Back up the mountain into the forest, back to the same clearing, but this time he's leaving nothing to chance. He sets up a couple of the claymores in front of the bait and then runs the command line back to his hide. These ones he's going to set off manually, but he doesn't want to risk the bear faking him out like he did the previous times. So all of the other claymores he sets up on tripwires. Thinks, "I've got you now, you bugger." And he waits. And then sure enough, he doesn't even see a rustle in the bushes. But half the claymores suddenly go off. Something tripped the wire. He hammers the clacker, detonates the rest on the command wire. The smoke and dust settle. No sign of the bear. He's behind me again, isn't he? Turns around, sure enough, there's the grizzly. And the grizzly just looks at him and says, "You're not here for the hunting, are you?" And that hunter is the Annapolis in this battle. Because I'm convinced that John could have killed him at any time, at least earlier on when he was on the other side of the map. But hey, why stop a good thing? John's tanked nearly 8 million potential damage so far in this match, and I'm pretty sure that at least half of that was down to the Annapolis. Unfortunately, while I'm sure John would love that to continue, the team are losing. I mean, they're ahead on points, but they're down a kill. The enemy team have 2 of the 4 caps, and they're threatening to flip a 3rd, and the only points that John's team have coming in are from 1 lonely cap circle over here at Delta. So the next time he sees the Annapolis, he's probably going to have to kill him. Gets a quick torpedo lock on the grosser curve first, although he's obviously not trying to hit him with the torpedoes, he's just using the torpedo aim indicator to judge which way the grosser curve first is going. And oh, hang on a second, was that the little hunter in the Annapolis we just saw pop up for a second on 16,000 health? Heading this way. Oh, I think it is. Well, this should be fun. There he is. You know, one of the reasons why the Annapolis, because it's one of these super ships as well, was able to chalk up this much potential damage on John the Ruthless is because it has exactly the same burst fire mode as this ship. It's just nowhere near as good. There he is. You know, I really don't think he's here for the hunting. Yeah, oh well, never mind. John's finally sent him home, pants around his ankles, bleeding from every orifice, but not before the Annapolis was able to give him a final gift. John has now tanked 8 million potential damage, which means he now has 4 doses of the surge forward talent, which means his ship is now going 32% faster. And this is not a slow ship to begin with. It has a top speed of 34.5 knots, and of course, access to an engine boost consumable, which John has just triggered because he is kind of low on health and it wouldn't do to get taken out by the Minnesota or the grosser curve first down there, although the Minnesota is almost certainly going to die. Frankly, I think John was robbed there. He did set a fire with that salvo, but somebody else gets the kill, doesn't matter. Look at his speed. He's not going to top out at full speed here because he's in a turn, and that obviously affects your acceleration. Also, and I don't know if this was a problem with the replay or just a bug with the way potential damage is displayed in-game, but it is showing more than 8 million potential damage. And yet he's still only actually on 3 applications of the surge forward talent. But when the airstrike comes in from the USS United States of America, yet another super ship, bang, there it is, ship speed increased. Now he has 4 full stacks of the surge forward talent. Now he is going 32% faster with the engine boost active. Look at the speed of this ship. He's going to top out in a heavy cruiser at 56.3 knots, which means that right now, the only ship in the entire game that's faster than him is the Italian destroyer, the Paolo Emilio, with its engine boost and a speed flag, which at full tilt is only capable of going 0.4 knots faster than this. And it's a destroyer with a base speed 10 knots faster than this. If a Shimakaze were behind him right now, and yes, that's the Kraken Unleashed, but if a Shimakaze were behind him right now with the suicide torpedoes, the F3s, the ones that only have an 8-kilometer range but have a speed of 76 knots, the Shimakaze could be unloading torpedoes after him, and they would be closing in on him at a relative crawl of less than 20 knots. In fact, I think it's even probable that unless this theoretical Shimakaze was launching those torpedoes from within 2 kilometers astern of him, they would run out of fuel before they caught up with him. The fastest torpedoes in World of Warships, the ones on the Halland that have a speed of 86 knots, are only 29.7 knots faster than this. In fact, he's had to put the brakes on now in case he runs out of the cap circle, because he wants to make sure he actually wins this game, and it wouldn't do to get sunk by the U-2501 on the enemy team. And also, the friendly Annapolis has realised that they don't need to find and sink that U-2501, they just need to stay alive. So while John flips this cap, the Annapolis is heading away from the last reported position of the submarine, and he's going to flip that central cap in the process, just to make sure they're going to win. And in the length of time it took for John to arrive here, from when he took the airstrike and gained his 4th stack of the surge forward talent, he crossed 12 kilometers in less than a minute and a half. And because he, And the Annapolis over there in the middle of the map are very wisely not trying to win this game any harder than they need to. He's rewarded for the victory with 1,000,000 credits and 20,000 experience for doing 343,000 damage and scoring 5 kills for what was an extremely high-risk strategy involving some absolutely ludicrous speeds towards the end of the battle. Please don't try this one at home, kids. Running a lighthouse build is dangerous enough, but then running a lighthouse build and deliberately inviting everybody to shoot at you in a cruiser is downright suicidal. John is obviously made of sterner stuff, so congratulations and thank you so much for sending that one in. It was hugely entertaining to watch, and I hope everybody else enjoyed it, because that's it for today. As always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.